Shut up and sit down.
Time for Dodgies vlog, you grots.
Alright guys, it's been ages since I've done a vlog, and finally I have something to do a little bit of a vlog about. This is what we've been up to that you missed in the live stream because our internet's just absolutely terrible and the live stream didn't happen, which was very disappointing, but maybe sometime in the future. But before then, we need to get our table ready for battle reports because this year is the year we're determined. The year before we bought a new map, everything else, and just didn't get around to it. We didn't have time. But if we can get the table finished and some armies painted, we'll be doing battle reports on top of all the videos you're already getting. So that'd be pretty cool. Also gives me and Andy some time for a lunch break, spend half an hour doing a turn a day. That should be spot on. And one of the first things we did, I'm going to show you this now. Me and Andy spent ages just cutting out, ages just measuring up the spacers in between this huge A0 size of foam core, 5mm in thickness. This takes a lot of time to make sure you've got it all straight and correct, and then it takes even longer to cut out all of the windows. As we were trying to get it all done nice and fast, Andy went for the basics and I went for the basics as well, and then I started fiddling around with some ideas when I was supposed to be having some time off. So let's have a look at the first projects that Andy was doing and how they've been made and what's going on there. In fact, let's have a look at the materials we've been using first for this project. So as we mentioned, we've been using foam core. This is 5mm thick stuff. If you don't know what foam core is, it's just a piece of compressed foam with two cardboard sides, and it's pretty sturdy stuff. You got to put some effort in to snap and bend that. And as we've done all the windows, like I mentioned, and cut all those out, it's also good to cut out a piece or a whole bunch of strips when you've got a straight edge. So you want to cut yourself some 1-inch strips, nice long ones, some 1/2-inch strips and some 1/4-inch strips. It's best to do these all at once rather than cutting a strip when you need it and then coming back. I find it a lot more useful to have these ready and prepared for a project and just cut them where I need to, glue them on, cut them where I need to, glue them on. Whereas if you did it the other way around, you're going to glue that, you're going to go back, cut another strip. It's just a lot more efficient to do it this way. And what these are for is for attaching to the outsides of these buildings. As you can see, these are ones Andy has been making. He wanted to go for Stalingrad, sort of. So I'll check that again. Which one was it, Andy? Yeah, Stalingrad, yeah. Andy wanted to go for a Stalingrad sort of theme with a lot of blown out windows. Now, because I've textured this in my time off, you can't see the blast marks and everything else. But once the paint goes down, that'll all start to show up, and we can paint those in. We can airbrush in some burn marks, things like that. I've not done the inside because I think we might be going for a different look on the inside, different texture, like it's been plastered or something, but it's a big industrial building obviously on the outside. It also might save a lot of time with the stippling and working with this, which is basically just this stuff. Interior ready mixed filler. Just get this from B&Q. Basically we put that on relatively thin, paste it all on there, and then use a stippling brush. We'll apply it with one brush that we keep nice and wet to keep it smooth, and then a dried up stippling brush is what we use to just dab that in there and add some texture. You want to rough that up so you don't have smooth texture, so when we paint it there's something to dry brush, bring out all those details. So what I'll show you now is me and Andy simply went to B&Q to get some 5-6mm thick MDF to place these on as well. And Andy made a couple of these, and cutting the windows out took a very long time, as you can imagine. Andy's going to build those up so they can be placed next to each other in any direction. So we can have a wide open building with some other parts. and they'll just fit in any direction. Andy's going to fill in the floor, possibly putting some flooring, fill this in with rubble, cat litter, sand and all that lot. But clearly we need to make it smooth enough so that we don't have wobbly model syndrome. Because if you're going to make terrain, that's something you definitely want to be avoiding. And also, if anyone can see that, I don't know if anyone can see that, so it doesn't really matter. I'll put that in anyway. The guy at B&Q does not know how to cut wood. You ask for 1 foot by 1 foot squares out of a one big, was it 4 foot, 2 foot by 6 foot piece, and he somehow managed to get them all different sizes.
It was impressive.
It was very impressive. I think he broke physics. Something was very wrong there. Okay, so I've got that. We also, with my half of that same material, I'll shift these to one side for a second. Started to do the same thing. Andy's done the larger buildings. Kick the camera there. I've gone for some slightly smaller, but I'm going to bring this camera down a little bit. I've gone for some slightly smaller buildings. Now, anyone who's seen our battle map knows that it's a industrial city style battle map, so that's what we're going to be doing. Lots of industrial city terrain. As you can see with this one, I have started beveling the edge. It's not perfect yet. It'll need quite a bit more sanding around. And this building in particular is going to lead us on to our next bit, our next subject to talk about. These, which I hope you can see, it is just from Jacob's Variety crackers from Christmas. Now, yeah, it's a flimsy plastic material, but what I've been doing with these is gluing sheets of foam core onto the inside and coating the whole inside with PVA glue. Now that's... and then breaks it on camera and that. Edit that out. What? I snapped it to show how strong it was, and then it wasn't that strong. And yeah, I just edit all that out. Fuck it.
No, leave it in. Leave it in. So it is strong.
It's not strong enough to bend it against itself. You can bend it this way, which is the point. You're going to have a nice flat surface there. We've been able to cut around that edge, and we'll be able to place that on there, add extra plaster around once it's bonded on, and then we've got a nice texture across the top here, which is really what I wanted it for. It's just easier to find textures a lot of the time than make them yourself. But this is not a standalone piece. Just as Andy's doing with his multi-part piece, I will show you this now. I may have trouble getting it all on the table. So that'll be the first part of this. And it can stand alone as a small building. Now this one isn't as up to date as that one. Now what we have here, I haven't glued this down so I can show you, just plasticard piping of different thicknesses. Now you can get this from eBay from China. I paid 12 quid, not just for these, it came with a whole stack of different sizes including squares as well. So I'd recommend looking on eBay and getting these from China. It's a lot cheaper than Evergreen. I think that's where Evergreen are getting them. They're just putting them in fancy packaging. Very, very cheap. And 12 quid for a huge bag of this. So, just what you'll find with these as well is they send you all the sizes so they fit inside each other quite well. In fact, I've used the last bit of that regular size, but as you can see here, they will slot into each other nice and easy, and you can glue those. So while I was doing stuff, I got Andy to cut these small bits out of the bottom. It's just going to add some extra detail to those parts. Shift those out of the way. And because we're from Yorkshire, of course we've got gravy granules. It's got to have our gravy and our Yorkshire puddings.
Damn straight.
So we get a lot of these, and to be honest, these Bisto tubs are a very good size. So are Pringles tubes, but I will show you that towards the end of the video because that's going to be part of the tutorial. It's an excellent lid, so if you've got 2 of these, and as always you can take the lid off the Bisto thing and attach it to the bottom for extra trim. So if you've got 2 of them and you put one at the top, one at the bottom, to be honest, without any work at all, you've got yourself some industrial looking terrain. This is the end of a poster packaging thing. I just like the depth in the top there. This bit's glued on as a template. And what's going to happen here, I've got my walkway across here. Obviously I've got a doorway in here, there's some work that needs doing. It was a bit awkward to line these 2 parts up, but they are lined up now. And one of the plans I've got with this set is to be able, if I just rotate this, I will probably have to zoom this camera out. To do something like that on your table at any given time with no effort whatsoever, and you can just snap these pieces together. So you can have them standalone or put them together to build a bigger part, and that would take up half of the 2-foot square on one part of your board. And as we're getting a few more of these going, you'll be able to do a lot of standalone stuff or massive sections. And speaking of massive sections, there's another part for this that I'm currently working on. Still using the same techniques, guys. These round vent parts here are from the same Jacob's Cracker box set. So if you find that variety box of Jacob's Crackers, you will find they're really good for texturing. Same technique here. They've been filled with foam core, bonded and then cut, so they're nice and sturdy because it is flimsy plastic. It also gives them a nice surface. It gives you a nice surface for your models to stand on. And what I'll do is I'll fill that in. I'll fill in the gaps with plaster, and I will texture this as well, so that'll cover any of those gaps. If you're looking at this part thinking, oh, that looks terrible, it hasn't got its trim on yet, and we'll get to that in a minute. All those terrible edges will be neatened up with trim and other effects. So basically this part will go here, and obviously I could, if I wanted to, I'm going to have to shift some of this. If I want to, I can add that to that one. Or my favourite way of doing it, I think, was to put it this way. So that way anyone following this walkway can also get up here. But with this design, there is a lot of options here for just playing around with it and placing things together. I wanted this only to be about an inch high, so models can still see over it, which was good. Me and Andy were having a lot of discussions about line of sight blocking terrain and open terrain. So this is the industrial set so far, plus a couple of ruined buildings that we've worked on. Now there's some old projects and some other new ones I'm going to show you in a sec once I've stopped this camera. And now let's cover this old project. As you can see here, I'll have to lift this camera up. It's not the same height as everything else, but we're going to put a bit of timber in it. That way it'll be the same height as everything else. It will also interlock or be used on its own. So let's get rid of these. I just wanted to show you how much fun it is having interlocking terrain. It means you can really change your board up all the time. And once it's all painted, it should look brilliant. Okay, so this is a very old project. And this is what I was talking about when I was talking about the edges of that other piece of card and the texturing on it. All this is, or all you would do in this case, cereal box card, hope we can get that in there, and measure that off into the measurements you want. Yeah, these are about 5mm each way, and then I'm scoring the underneath and folding them over the same way I did with this, and you'll see that on the terrain piece I'll show you in a minute that's getting its tutorial. We made some improvements. I finished the trim off on this, texturing on the top, that took a long time, and we've recently added some little ladders to that, which were just stolen from an old fire truck, a toy fire truck, so easy to get hold of, easy to do. Maybe do a little bit more texturing on this, add some extra things. I'm not too happy with the windows, but as you can see, you're able to line this up, but it will match the same sort of scheme as well. I might put a searchlight or radio tower or something on it, just to break that up. There's another piece like this as well, and all we're really starting with is a simple box shape made of foam core. And like I said, you don't have to worry too much about your edges being massively clean, because we're going to put filler in these. Well, that's how I did it anyway, and then put trim over the edges. And then it'll be all textured and done. And again, this will be something else. It can be either laid across here, attached to anything, standalone as a building, and it'll be done quite quickly. Hopefully, that's the plan. This has been sat in a box for about 2 or 3 years. It's very old. But I've been enjoying trying to get all the terrain finished. I enjoy watching the progress for it, and enjoy coming up with the new ideas. And some of these were rescued from the old terrain box that were just foam core. We did manage to find a decent angle on these, so we can put these alongside here. Doesn't matter about this little lip, but what we have here is some kind of landing pad, or we can find a gun. We do have a gun placement from one of the Raven Guard land speeders, so we could embed that on something up here and make a bit of terrain that way, or we could just put sandbags and barricades around it and just have it as some form of central piece. I do find that one quite interesting, and it will stand alone. We'll make these so they can be attached either side, put something on them to make some weight, and you can maneuver that around your board depending on what you want. Obviously this is going to need a lot of trim and texturing, and once the paint is done it should look spot on. And lastly, with the terrain we've been working on, the old Pringles tube, because Pringles tubes work really well for terrain. This is not the finished paint job. I've got to finish this for the tutorial. We'll be working out all the measurements for these parts and how to get it to sit snug and smooth. But we definitely want to get this one finished and uploaded, especially for patrons. I think it'll be any time soon. Some of the parts here that you'll find useful, if you know anyone who vapes, get the coils off of them, because the coils are definitely worth having. They just look so good once they're painted. It's all the textures and different shapes and sizes rather than just the plastic card, which is just one solid tube. This has got a lot of different bits to it, so it looks a lot more interesting. We'll be finishing this off, so I don't want to show you too much of this. We'll be doing this in a video very soon. So that's all there is for this vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely leave a comment down below, because input's always useful. I want to know what you guys think about that terrain, or if you've got any ideas yourself. And yeah, so that's basically everything that we didn't get to stream live, plus a bit of extra work that was kicking around. And as always, we have to give some special thank yous to our patrons: Cliff Leonard, Joe Spearpoint, Laurel Tarley, Ludwig Hofbauer, Warren Brunsdon, Danny Wack and Chris Lindquist. You guys are awesome. Thanks very much for supporting the channel. Check out the Outpost. They are our affiliate link. Brand new stuff at a second-hand price. Brushes, paints, models, 40k, Infinity. They've got the whole range of everything pretty much. and it's all 15-20% off. So definitely go check those out. All our links for social media and everything else are in the description, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.